Hi guys, my name is Tofik. You're once again welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's session is going to be a very important session. So if you have not subscribed to my channel at this point in time, kindly go ahead and subscribe and turn on your post notification. For those that have subscribed, thank you and you're welcome to my channel. So today's session, I'm going to be showing you the CV that got me two fully funded PhD scholarship in the US in 2021 application season for 2022 admission. So back then, I just finished from my bachelor's. I had applied to more than 10 schools. Seven of them were PhD opportunity, and eventually I got two PhD offer. One at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York, and the other one at the University of Texas at Arlington. However, I eventually rejected these offers to go for my master or the Erasmus Mundus scholarship because I had won several scholarships back then in 2021, right? So this CV was what I used then. So if you are someone who is currently in your final year, you just finished graduating, you don't even have a master degree, you don't have to worry. I also didn't have a master degree when I applied with this CV. So stay tuned. Before showing you the CV, I'll take you through generally what to put and what not to put in your CV. Because one thing about applying for scholarship is following the unique step. There is no one hard way of doing it. You can use several CV format, but you have to make it an academic CV, and at the same time, you should be competitive, right? There are certain things you should not put in your CV. So I'll be taking us through a brief session about what should be in your academic CV. Then I'll present the CV. Stay tuned and watch. So basically, when you this is not arranged in any particular order. So, but whenever you are writing your academic CV, the first thing you want to put is your education, right? So you want them to see where you had your bachelor's. Please don't put your high school in this case. If you did just bachelor, put your bachelor. If you did ND before bachelor, put your ND, then your bachelor, depending on your qualification. You don't have to put your high school, you don't have to put IGMB, you don't have to put primary school, you don't have to start with your personal detail like state of date of birth, state of origin, marital status. All this information are not needed in your academic CV. So the first thing is your education. One rule of thumb I always tell people in education is when you present your education, you put your university, your course of study, your CGPA, you should put your relevant courses. So you can highlight five of the courses that you have taken that is relevant to the program instead of you putting the title of your your bachelor thesis dissertation. The reason why I prefer you using why I prefer myself personally using relevant courses and not bachelor thesis is because I'm still going to talk about the bachelor thesis during my research experience session. So I prefer to put relevant courses. Then later I can talk about the thesis. So that is that for your education. You are going to see it in my CV. Then the second thing is your experience. This part is very, very important. For your academic CV, you might want to have three types of experience. The first one is your research experience. The second one is your industrial experience. The third one is your teaching experience. So these three experience doesn't have to come in different sessions. So for me, what I normally do is I usually have two sessions for experience. I will ask myself between the three, which one do I have the most experience? If I have the most experience in industrial experience, then industrial experience will stand on its own. Then the other two, the research experience and teaching experience, will be a session on its own. So this, I'll call it research and teaching experience. You are going to see it on my CV. So back then when I was applying, I just finished my bachelor. Of course, I don't have a lot of research experience, but I did a lot of internship during my bachelor, so I have some industrial experience. So industrial experience stands on its own. When I say industrial experience, I mean your professional work experience. Then I now have another session where I said research and teaching experience. Why? Because I have some teaching experience, I have some little research experience, so I combine them together to form that session. So you can combine it anyhow you want it, right? It all depends on you. Another important session that should be in your CV is your academic activities. So this is what I mean by academic activities. You might want to put your publication, if you have submitted a conference paper, you have attended conferences, if you have some presentation. For presentation, it's not so important, right? For me, the CV I recently used to apply for my PhD offer, I didn't put any presentation, and the reason is because I already have enough, right? But if you're somebody that is just coming out of from your bachelor, maybe you don't even have publication. So talking about your presentation is usually a useful thing, especially if it's related to what you're applying to. One key thing to remember in academic CV is don't put a lot of information that will make it look overly complicated to read. I know a lot of you might currently have a CV that's like 5 page CV and all. It's fine. Back then, I also have a 5 page CV. I was like, oh, I don't have anything to remove this, that. But when I actually sat down, I started editing, formatting my CV. I was able to come up with a 2 page CV and I was happy with it. So always take note, your 5 page CV is good, but when it's time for you to apply, especially if you are just coming out from your bachelor, you should change it to a 2 page CV, right? You can also use a 3 page to apply. You can use 4 page. There is no rule that say you can only use 2 page of CV to apply for scholarship, except if it's specified in the scholarship you're applying for. However, for me, for example, I prefer to use 2 page because it makes everything easy for me, concise, and it was unique. That was back then because I just finished from my bachelor. Then another important section you want in your academic CV is the extracurricular activities. This could be your leadership role, your volunteering, your community services. For me, I did a lot of leadership role where I was on my undergrad. I was the president of my indigenous association. I was the vice president of a mentorship group. I hold a lot of position for NSB, so it was easy for me to have explore this leadership role. I did some volunteering and community services as well. I included all this in my CV, and I'm going to show you a template of my CV where you also learn how to arrange this in your CV. Like I said, there is no one template for it. So the next thing is your professional development. So what skills do you have, right? So one way of showing your professional development is through certification. For me, I took a lot of MOOC from Coursera. I highlighted them in my CV. Your affiliation and professional membership. What membership are you affiliated to? Then your skills. What skills do you have? Let's say, for example, you're interested in tech-related area. You have to have programming skills. If you're interested in wet lab, let's say bioscience-related area, you have to have some maybe DNA extraction, cell culturing skills, as the case may be. So basically, the other things you might want to include in your CV, but these are the key main things that should be in your academic CV. Now let's move ahead to see the template of the CV that I used that got me the fully funded offer. Terrain, you're welcome. So yeah, basically, this was the CV that I used that got me to fully funded offer um for 2022 resumption at Rensselaer and University of Texas at Arlington. So the first thing here is I have an objective. So this is optional. The last CV that I used that got me into Georgia Tech, I did not put objective. So you don't have to put objective. If you also put it, that is fine, but you have to keep it as short as possible. For me, it's just to obtain a PhD in biomedical engineering and obtain professional proficiency while enhancing independent research, teaching, and administrative skills. It could be anything, right? Then one important section is your research interest because right away you want them to know what your research interest is. So what I normally advise people is when you write your academic CV, you can either use your research interest to start it or you use your research interest to end it. You should put it in a place that they can always see. So putting it at the start is easy for them to see. Putting it at the end is also easy for them to see. So this is important. Then apart from your research interest, the next thing I put was my laboratory skills, some of the skills that I have. So since I did OND back then in science laboratory technology, my internship was in a microbiology lab. So I was able to did cell culturing and some sensitivity testing, like also testing for gram positive, gram negative, some microscopy, and several other stuff. So it was easy for me to add them. So this CV was targeted for PhD in biomedical engineering with the option of tissue engineering because back then I just finished my bachelor. So I was very flexible with my research interests, right? So for this, I took a lot of courses on Coursera involving biology-related courses. I took a lot of courses on Coursera involving programming. So I was applying to opportunities in medical imaging where I have to do programming, and also applying for opportunity in tissue engineering where I can do wet lab stuff depending on which one I get. But I was more inclined towards computational. That's why I could go for my Erasmus instead of going for PhD in the US back then. So that being said, so you could see I highlighted the skills that I have. At the same time, the software skills that I have, like I told you, I was doing also learning a lot of things. So I also highlighted that, and that was good for me. Then the next thing was my education session. This part is very important. So when you do your education session, you want to put your CGPA right. I mean, if you don't have a fancy CGPA, you can decide to skip it, but most of the time, putting your CGPA is usually a good thing to do. And you can see, just like I said before, what you need is relevant courses. So then now, if you look at me, I put courses that are related to the area that I'm applying to, which is studio engineering. I'm still going to review the CV that got me the Erasmus Mundus scholarship in one of my videos, so stay tuned. So in that CV, you are going to see is this list of courses. I listed other courses that are more related to medical imaging that I did in my undergrad. So your courses will always change. That's why scholars always tell you don't submit one CV for all application. It's not as if they're telling you that you have to put a completely different CV, right? But there are certain things you can always change to make you more competitive. So you have to know this dynamism. No CV is perfect, no template is the best, but knowing the dynamism is the more important, right? Also, a very important thing is your date format. So if your date is this way, you want to keep it this way all through your application. Formatting is very important when you write your CV. So after this, the next thing is I have a session for publication and presentation. So back then, I didn't have any publication yet. However, I just finished, like I said, I just finished my bachelor. So I have a lot of projects that was already done and we are preparing it for publication. So this one have been published already. This have been published already. So these two were my presentation during undergraduate. Since I mean, I want to introduce things that shows that I have some scientific experience. So I included this presentation in my new CV that got me um, to Georgia Tech. I didn't include presentation. Why? Because I already have a lot of project in that CV. So it was easy for me and I already have some publications, right? So you might want to see this if you're somebody who is currently writing your work or you have submitted your work, this is a good way to go about adding them to your CV. Then the next thing is research and teaching experience. So for the research and teaching experience, then I I was working with Pan African Research Group. I'm still working with them, right? So I was under the drug discovery research, and I was also under the AI and data science research. So under the drug discovery research, that's where we were carrying out this particular research, which, like I said, have been published now. So it was easy for me to put it as my research experience. So, and I highlighted what I was doing at that time. Then also, I was during my undergraduate, I was an undergraduate research assistant where I did my bachelor thesis, right? So now in this way, I highlighted what I did, and also if you notice here, I put an achievement and I highlighted what I did in the achievement, right? This is very important for you. Then, like I said, I also have some teaching experience because I taught in secondary school as part-time teacher when I was in my bachelor, in my final year. And at the same time, I took a lot of tutorials for the department. So this is a good way. Even if you don't have a teaching experience, as long as you took some tutorial for your department or you teach your colleagues, always find a way to present them in your CV, right? These are the little things that make your CV fancy. Also, the essence of this video is to show you the template and the format of the CV. So not the exact content that I put. However, you can read them by yourself. So your contents are also very important. So the next thing now is the industrial experience. So now, as you can see, I told you that there are three sections of your experience in your academic CV. The first one is your research experience, your industrial experience, and teaching experience. And I told you you could combine them, right? So that's why if you see this research and teaching experience, I combine them. And this industrial experience is on its own. So you should take note of that. Now, for the industrial experience, I told you I did several internships, so I just have to highlight those internships here, and it was good for me. Then the next thing was my leadership experience. I was involved in a lot of leadership experience. Some people, when they highlight their leadership experience, I know that your first 5-page CV, I mean you watching me right now, your 5-page CV or 4-page or 6-page CV right now, probably your leadership experience, you were explaining everything you did just like a work experience. I mean, if you don't have much thing and you decide to do that, fine and good. But if you are having a 5-page CV, one potential way of reducing it is just highlighting your leadership responsibility, except if the program you're applying to want to see your leadership experience, right? So for me, I just highlighted it. I was the class rep of my department. I was the vice president of the Airwatch Student Association, which was the mentorship association I was talking about. I was the president of a student. I was team leader. I was the academic excellence and technical chair. That's for National Society of Black Engineer. So I was also the secretary of my department at some point in time. So I highlighted everything here, which was good for me. It already shows that yes, I have some leadership experience. Then for award and honor, I also highlighted some of the award that I got during my undergrad. And then for professional development, this is where I told you you could show your skills, your certification and everything, right? So for me, I took a lot of certification on Coursera. Some people might say, oh, certificate on if you take certification courses online, it doesn't matter. It does matter, right? So this if you look at all the certification, it shows what I have learned in that area. So now some of you under your certification session, you just list the course that you took and that's it. You might want to highlight what you learned. So if you look at mine here, I said I took the course Introduction to Biology of Cancer at Johns Hopkins University. And at the same time, you can see that I highlighted them biological mark of cancer, molecular biology, risk factor, treatment option, imaging, and staging techniques. This was what I learned. The same thing I also took for fundamental of immunology. I also highlighted what I learned. So this is important. When you introduce your certification, try to also highlight what you have learned. And the same thing, I have volunteering um, and community services. I have professional membership and affiliation also. Then, most importantly, all these things that you have said that you have, you need like an evidence to say, you need like an evidence to um you need an evidence to back it up. Like for example, you can see I have a lot of certification, right? And these certifications, yeah, this certification, you might want to put them. So what you can do, you can just provide a link that they can click to the certification, or at the end of your CV, like me, you can upload everything on the Google Drive, and then you ask them to click on it, or you can create an e-portfolio. For me, I was very organized. Like I like to be organized. So I created an e-portfolio. Let me click on it. So this was my e-portfolio. You can see it. I mean, this is might make a presentation later if you guys want on how I came up with this e-portfolio, but it's a very nice one. I will not be going in detail about it anyway, but if you want it, you can see the link, you can type it yourself and see what it contains. So this is my e-portfolio. You can see this section. I can click on my CV, I can click on my LinkedIn. If I come down, you see a whole lot of other things, but yeah, I wouldn't do that. So basically, that is that. Also, my certification. Okay, I'll do one. So you can see when I click on certification, all the certifications that I told you that I have, you can see them here. I took the Python for data science. So in that CV, I only listed about 4 to 5 certifications, but I actually have more than 20 certifications, right? But depending on the program I'm applying to now, that's what I'll put. So you can see these are all my certification, and they are mainly from Coursera and some other places, right? Okay, let's go back. So yeah, that being said, this was the CV that I used that got me the fully funded opportunity that I got. And I'm sure if you made it to this point, that is good. It shows that you are very resilient and you are ready for this step. So if you have questions about CV, you can drop it on the session. I'll still be making videos about on the SOP that I used that got me my fully funded offer. I'll be making videos on code emails, the template that I use and everything. So stay tuned with this channel. And for those applying for the Erasmus Mundo scholarship, I got you as well. I'm still going to present my Erasmus Mundo CV and explain how I went about it. It's different from this because I made use of the Europass and the program I was applying to was medical imaging and it was a 3-page CV. So stay tuned. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on your post notification for new videos. Thank you. See you.